Mark Shearer. I'm the CEO and founder of Encompass Life and the host of the Wellness Revolution podcast. And today we have Elena Paweta on our call. And Alina is joining us from Poland. And her company and her podcast is called Ideas and Leaders. She's a very interesting lady. Um, and I hope if you're watching this through YouTube, it's very beautiful, very well poised, and brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to having Alina on the show and speaking with her. Welcome to the show, Alina.
Hello, Mark. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. So, Alina, you have a variety of things you do, including your podcast, Ideas and Leaders. So, can you share a little bit about the passion that got you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I basically everything that I do comes down to one thing: communication, effective communication, and effective leadership. And this is something that I'm very passionate about for many years. I have Ideas and Leaders company, doing business trainings, working with teams on improving their communication, improving their leadership skills. I'm also a TEDx organizer, so I'm putting together those big events, and I've been coaching people who want to become TEDx speakers for some time now as well. So also I'm working with students. I'm working at the university, same topics, working with young people on their communication skills, on their leadership skills. And why I'm doing all of this, and both in academia and in business and in nonprofit organizations, is because I think that we need more effective leaders. We need more effective communication, because I can see that people have so many conflicts, and some basic skills can change that. It is not a rocket science. It is just something that we need to work on, and we can achieve a lot in business. We can achieve a lot in our career just by introducing small changes. So I started doing this as an introvert myself, because I had problems with talking with others, communicating with others, presenting my ideas with confidence. And I learned certain skills step by step. Then I transformed into a trainer myself. I had several trainer certifications, and then I started teaching others. And my example can show that basically anyone can learn those skills. That's why I'm passionate about what I do.
Awesome. What I've discovered is everybody finds their purpose and their passion inside something that's painful in their life. And the bigger the pain, the bigger the passion, the bigger the purpose. It sounds
Yes.
like you have the same thing going on. So I believe it's universal, even if you're in Poland. Even if you're in Poland, everybody has. You go into your pain, you're going to find your purpose and find your passion in life. And when you do, you'll come alive.
Yes, absolutely. And I still remember this pain that I felt when I was presenting my master thesis. When I finished my university, I was standing with a piece of paper, uh, not knowing what to say, although it was my work that I was writing for many months. And I could not say a word. I don't remember this presentation. I was so nervous speaking in front of people, putting my words, putting what I wrote into words, into a presentation. I did not think about others at all. I only thought about myself and how I look. And I think that this experience, still, and many other painful experiences, that when I was talking to others, presenting something, it led to this transformation. Because then when I started my PhD studies, I have a PhD in economics. I started my academic journey, I had to speak to students. And then I was like, no, this is not my area of genius. I need to change something. And that's when I started educating myself. I took a lot of online courses, a lot of certifications to become more confident. I joined communication and speaking clubs. I started organizing TEDx conferences. So I did everything I could to educate myself more about powerful communication.
Yeah.
And indeed, as you mentioned, I think that this pain led to this, I wouldn't say success, but to my journey to giving this platform, those platforms and those opportunities to others.
Yeah. And so many people are terrified to speak in front of people. And if you have that, a lot of people who really have a wonderful genius about them, their their insecurities keep that genius from being shared with the world. So what I've one of the things we do here is your greatest weakness should be your greatest strength. So if somebody's having a tough time speaking in front of a group of people, they're really nervous about that, then I know the flip side of that is they're going to be a great speaker. And for them to activate that, they have to speak from here, not from here. They can't do it mentally. They can only do it with their heart and with their passion and with their purpose aligned, and then they can speak. It sounds like you're
Yes.
doing that.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And when I'm working with people who want to become TEDx speakers, because this is what I do quite often now, because as I've been organizing TEDx events for over 10 years now, so I
Wow.
know, what is going on behind the stage. So it's not only about being a great speaker, it's about also what you want to speak about and what to do to get accepted. And as I start working with people on their TED Talks, they start thinking with their mind and they start like, oh, I could speak about this, and they start coming up with the topics that could be interesting for others. But then we start digging, and the most important moment is to find this idea worth spreading for the TED stage. And we start digging, like, what is this thing that is your passion, that is really your idea that no one else has, that is something interesting, that is something unique. And then when they start speaking with their heart, as you mentioned, it is something completely different. So very often, when a person comes to me with one idea, they in the end they go and speak on the stage about something completely different. So it is interesting to get these ideas out of people.
Yeah. And people do a TED talk. Is it totally scripted, or people just get up there and start speaking from their heart and just let it rip, or maybe a combination of both?
It definitely needs to be prepared. So some people, they don't realize that how important it is, because the TEDx stage or TED stage, this is something that stays on YouTube. And when someone Googles your name, it always comes up. And this is a very credible stage. So what you say there, even if you're a confident speaker, you definitely need to be prepared. But at the same time, I think that the more you speak from the heart, the better. So what I usually recommend is to prepare the opening, the closing, main message, the structure. So we are working on the structure of the speech. But when it comes to preparation, final preparation, I don't recommend learning the speech by heart, because then we are not that natural and we don't sound like ourselves. We sound like, we are reading the text, which is in the end, it is hard to build relationship, to build connection with people when you're speaking and reading from the paper or from the slide, or if you just memorize the text. That's why my recommendation is to just prepare with a structure, to practice it many, many times, but not to learn by heart.
Gotcha. Unless you're a politician, then you speak from the teleprompter. You read from the teleprompter.
Yes, politicians or people on TV, of course, they use teleprompters because they give many, many speeches every day. So, but for people for whom one speech is the most important, I think that we really need to be prepared for that.
I agree. Yeah, a lot of times politicians just speak whatever's up on the teleprompter, and there's no soul in it. It's all mental. The heart brings the soul into the equation.
And I think that if you're a good speaker, then you can even add a little soul into the teleprompter as well. For example, I think a great example is Barack Obama, who was reading his speeches from the prompter, but at the same time, he could, bring people to tears or make a funny joke and introduce his personality into the speeches. I think that there are many examples of great politicians who, yes, they read what their speechwriters write, but at the same time, they bring their personal touch.
They bring their mojo with them.
Yeah.
Mojo. You have mojo in Polish language?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, we know the word.
You know the word, gotcha. So you've helped people prepare for TEDx speeches and get them enrolled or able to get on TEDx, yes? And how do your services work for that? I assume you
Yeah,
do. I assume you charge for your services. You dress nice, so you're making some money.
Yeah, so definitely, this is I have like two parts of my business. One is B2B, when I'm working with organizations and when I'm working with teams and doing business trainings or series of workshops, development programs for the teams on communication, on leadership. And then I'm teaching some of my programs. They're teaching this TEDx style of speaking. And by the way, it is interesting that in the last couple of years, many organizations, they specifically started requesting this, because before it was all about, making a PowerPoint presentation and structuring the speech. But now businesses, I can see that they see the value in this format. When you're giving a short and impactful presentation, then it is much more valuable than, long and boring PowerPoint presentation. So that's why this is what I do for businesses. But also I'm working one-on-one. On one side, communication skills in general, better communication skills, every person usually comes with their own personal agenda and personal requests. So someone wants to get a job, for example, to go to the new level. Someone gets high leadership position, and they want to change their communication style because they get certain feedback. So communication style and TEDx specifically, this is something that I do. And as you mentioned, I'm working with people who want to become speakers and want to speak on big stages, including TEDx. One of my programs is Become a TEDx Speaker. I have a group program that I'm launching every half a year or so. And I have an individual coaching. I'm working with people. So how it works is a person comes to me with their idea and the desire to speak on a TEDx stage. And then we start working on the idea, because the most important element is the idea worth spreading. Because me as a TEDx organizer, I saw from behind this stage how it looks like. For example, to give you an understanding, when we open the um, applications for speakers, sometimes we can get 300 applications or 500 applications for just one event. And one event is we have like 10 speaking spots and a couple of entertainment, music artists. But we don't have, we can't accept so many speakers, so we have to choose. And what are we looking for in those ideas is we are looking for those ideas worth spreading, something that is interesting, important, credible. It is hard for us as well, but I know what people can do and how they can adapt to those particular stages and how they can craft their communication, their ideas to be accepted. And then I'm helping after we get the idea, I'm helping with making a draft of the speech, with making the speech more persuasive, because some people, they're focusing on the story. It is not only about the story is just a tool. Some people are focusing on numbers. For example, when I'm working with researchers, with scientists, they're always like numbers, 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 research results. Then we are working on the stories. So it should be a combination of both. And then we are working on the applications. How can we apply? How can we approach the organizer so that your application is one of the top ones? So they pay
in consideration. Yeah.
Yeah. So that they choose you.
So you have group work you do with the TEDx speakers, grooming them or educating them, I guess you could say, preparing them. And how big of the groups do you work with? How many people
Yeah.
usually in your group classes?
So those are small groups. They're 10 people, 10 people groups. We have coaching calls uh, first every couple of weeks and then every month. The program is a 6-month program. I have a lot of videos, access to all my materials, access to me and my individual coaching during the calls and checking your materials. So this is the group version, and then there is an one-on-one version where we can work faster, because some people, for example, when they have a book coming out or when they have some event coming up and they say, I need to have TEDx this year or in a couple of months. And then we work individually to make it faster. Or just, some people don't have time to listen to videos, to watch videos. Then again, we're working individually.
Sure.
So those are those two tracks.
So whenever your people, say you have a group of 10 people, do they just apply for one event or do they apply for multiple events?
I'm giving them tools to apply for multiple events. We're choosing the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
We have certain criteria that we go through, and we're choosing the top, the A-list events, but then I'm giving them tools so they can keep applying to other events as well, because sometimes it doesn't work immediately. For some people, it works immediately and they get accepted already during working with me, after 4 or 5 weeks, they already tell me that they get accepted. But in most cases, it takes some time to apply.
What's your success ratio? The people who work with you, how many of them actually get on the TEDx stage?
I would say that among those people who are really motivated and they send out the applications and they don't give up, then everyone gets accepted.
Wow.
Some people, as I noticed, they just give up at a certain point.
Right.
And to be honest, I can admit that sometimes I am also like that. So, for example, last year I signed up for a group program that was quite expensive, and I wanted to educate myself on getting in the media. So it was a PR company that organized the program, and I went through all of the videos. I went through the coaching calls, but then in the end, I got caught up in my projects and I didn't do the work. So I did not like apply for those TV shows, and so I had all those tools how to do it, but I didn't do this my
Right.
part of the work for me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm like one of those clients of mine who who like stop doing things at a certain point.
Yeah.
I totally understand this. This is like a human thing. So if you if you're not ready for something at this point, but you have a knowledge how to do it, then maybe you can do it next year or in two
Right.
years. But yeah, among those people who are really working on it and doing their part of the work, then
Yeah.
of course it always works out.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of coaches talk about people have a fear of failure, and that's why they don't start going. That's why they don't do things.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
and I believe it's a fear of success. And why I say that is because for that person to move from where they currently are to a whole nother level of success, they have to give up their excuses, their complaints, and all their reasons why they can't. And and so they have to create a brand new identity where those things no longer or their identity. So they have to give up that persona to have this new persona of the person who's really successful. Because that person who's really successful has found a way to either drop those things or diminish them to where those things no longer own that person anymore. So,
Yes.
and I've had many clients where they butt up against that, going to a whole nother level, going from, um, um, whatever, an 8-figure company to a 9-figure company, or for low 7-figure, even going from a six-figure business to a 7-figure business and 8-figure business. I mean, every one of those advances is a brand new reinvention. All of them. We're going from a person who wants to write a book to a person who has a book already written. Very, very different persona. What are my friendships like? Because people are going to come and go in your life at that time, and people get attached to a particular group of friends, a particular way of being, and they they believe they're comfortable there. But what I believe is they're familiar with being miserable. And you know what
Hmm.
they say, misery loves company.
Yes.
Well, so does
Yes.
enthusiasm. So get rid of your misery, your company of misery, companions of misery, and go to your companions of enthusiasm and see what happens in your life.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100% that to go to the next level in any uh, area in business and communication, becoming a TEDx speaker, writing a book, we need to kind of say goodbye to the old version, a comfortable version of ourselves.
You know,
So sometimes
familiar.
it is
I say
hard.
familiar version because we were talking before you came on the podcast about how people in Poland complain, and so when people are complaining, whether they admit it or not, they're miserable. Or they may be familiar with being miserable, but they're still miserable, not comfortable, familiar with being miserable. And once they shift, hey, you'd like to go back to where you were? Oh, no, no, no. Why? Because that was really, really hard. And I was miserable there. I just didn't know it because I thought that's all there was. So when you work with businesses, um, do you have a team that goes into business, or is this just you, or how do you work with businesses?
So it depends on the project. I have a group of people that I work with, and it's a group of coaches that I work with. But to be honest, I'm in transition right now. So the communication that the topic that we're speaking about right now is very, very relevant to myself and to my business, because I'm at this point in my business, when clients approach me and they want something, they want a training program, they want the workshop series, they want me. And I've been doing it for many years, and just this last year, I started going out of a business, and I started growing and scaling my business. So what I'm doing right now is I have a group of people that I'm training to work with me in my business. So we have a team, and what comes after this will be a training certification and all
Yeah.
of the other new things. But I think that as you mentioned before, the biggest shift is not the business shift, but it's the mindset shift. That okay, now it is not just me doing
Right.
things, and it is not just me who is a star, and everyone wants to work with me, but it's me who's running the business and who
Right.
is letting other people thrive, and then being this stars and
So,
business trainers. So that's why I would say that now I'm in between of those two modalities.
so when you said you've been doing this for years, how many years have you been doing the business coaching? Because you look like you're about 28.
I'm 39, and
No
I've been
way.
yes,
Okay. Boy,
I've been
how, for the people listening, how do you like the way I got her to admit her age? That was some smooth stuff, the way I got her to admit her age on this call.
no, I don't have any problem with saying my age. This is, something that I'm proud of. I have quite a lot of years of experience, but still quite a long life ahead of me. So
Mm.
I think that I don't have problems with this. But as for my business, I started uh, doing things on my own uh, uh, in 2017. So the business that I'm doing right now is about 7 to 8 years old. But before, I've been doing business training and workshops for other organizations as part of
Hmm.
training companies and nonprofit companies. But then there was this moment where I had a breakthrough and I started doing things on my own. And then there was another breakthrough that came in 2020 where I started my online business and my podcast, because then everything, all live trainings disappeared due to the COVID pandemic. And then I was not forced to, but I wanted to. I finally had time to develop my online business. That's why I think what I'm doing is 50-50, more or less, half of it online, half of it live.
Awesome. And so, as you're growing your business with other trainers, when you, what's going to be your role as you have people you can delegate or let's see how to say this, who are going out as a representation of you and your own mythology? What's your role at that point?
Yeah, so I had a really interesting discussion with one of my friends. She has a training company in Canada, and she's doing similar things in a similar area, let's say leadership and communication training. And I think that the main task is to keep the standards of the training, because when clients approach you, you need to have the similar standard of delivery, and all the materials, all the tools, all the methodology that we use now when we have new coaches in the team, new trainers in the team, they need to um,
Live, eat, and breathe it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should own it. They should own this material. So it's not just they read the manual and then they do something that they usually
Hmm.
do that they used to. They
Hmm.
really need to own it. So that's why training, certification process, and working with
Hmm.
trainers together and co-creating new programs together. I think that this will be the top priority, not just having someone for 1 or 2 days, but actually
But
creating
yeah.
the team out of those people. I have several people already now that I'm working with, and we have very similar background. So we have similar background in TEDx. We've been active in TEDx organizing teams when in we've been doing some workshops together. So we know we kind of feel each other. So now
Hmm.
it's easy. But when we get new people, then we should definitely have those standards.
And
So this is something new.
how long does it take for you to train somebody to embody your mythology? About what's your training curve for it?
Um, Currently, I think that it's about a month to
Oh,
go
that's
through.
quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Wow.
again, I'm speaking about people who are with whom we are on the same page. So we
Right.
have a similar background and we know it's just about the methodology, it's just about we don't have to explain the key points and the definitions, so everything is pretty much clear. But of course, for the new people, completely new people, when we scale, we need to develop longer methodology. And what about you? Because I know that you have people, you're
Well,
training people as well. How long does it take for you?
well, there's a direct correlation between the urgency that person has to generate money, their commitment level. If they're doing it kind of part time, they it takes maybe a year or two for somebody to be able to really to lead at the level I choose. We do have graduated ways for people to come in, so where they start off doing a particular task in a sequence of coaching calls, and so they can start working with people within 6 months to a year or so. It just depends. It just really depends on the person. Some people really have the fire to do it. If they have the fire to do it, they can get it really, really quickly. And if they're, um, let's see how to say this, if they're trying to answer in a way to please me rather than the embodiment of the material and really owning it, that's the key. They have to really own the material. And then once they do, they can advance very, very quickly. But if they're trying to do it right, they will screw up every single time. If they're
Mm.
terrified of doing it wrong, they will do it wrong again and again and again. So yeah, it's we're working on some new systems where we'll have some accountability tools where we can work with coaches on a specific to deliver a specific method, and then once they master that method, then they can go on to doing a deeper and deeper level to where they're leading live event classes online and live events. We have about, let's see, I guess we about have about a half a dozen people who can lead most every class we have now. We just launched one of our trainers is a doctor in Houston. She's originally from Colombia, and she has just launched one of our classes in Spanish. And then we have a lady from Ukraine who she translated one of our classes into Russian, and she still requires a little more refining before I can trust her to lead that class because I other than speak Russian, so she's gonna have to be really, really good at it in English before I turn her loose in Russian. But I believe she'll be doing it in Russian in 2025. And then we have a lady from the Netherlands who speaks Dutch and who also has translated the same class into Dutch. So I believe we'll be multilingual, have classes in 4 languages by the end of 2025.
Nice, great. So you're scaling internationally.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, I am. And same thing here. I have a maintaining the standards is something really important for me. My baby, like this is with you, and 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 then where instead of me working with the new people coming in, I am working with the trainer of trainers.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps scaling up. That's our goal, and it's happening. Um, um geez, don't talk price, but a rough idea. What is it? What's the investment for somebody to work with you for one for the TEDx type of training you do about for a 6 month program with you? Some rough ideas. You mind
Mm-hmm.
sharing that?
Yes, of course. So for the group program, the current price at the moment of we are recording this
Right.
conversation is about $3,000.
Three
Yes,
U.S.
yes. And for the individual one-on-one work, one-on-one coaching, which is 6 coaching calls, so it can be done in 6 weeks, so in a short amount of time. Then it is currently it is 5,000.
Gotcha. And for you to go into a company, what do you? How long are you normally in, do a gig with the company?
Um, about the company, it depends on the programs because sometimes it is just one training day. And for example, last week, the one of the companies, the consulting companies, they invited me and they said we need to have one day for this team, and we need to train them in communication. And I said, hey, I have a year-long communication programs. Like one day is not so realistic, but they said, okay, just need to have those 3 topics. They are top priority for us right now. So sometimes I'm doing the short term things, but usually it is very, very individual. So I would need to see what is the scope, how many teams do we have in the program, how many days, training days do they need, what kind of content do they need, and then we are adapting what what they what we have to what they need, because I think that especially in the communication area, it is every training is different, and even the same training is different for different groups, because sometimes when I have executives or when I have managers or when I have younger team leaders, the same content, in the end the training will be completely different and the level of discussions will be completely different. So that's why um, it is always individual.
They say a master can explain something 1,000 different ways. So as you master your material, and you can explain it differently for other audiences, right? For each individual audience, your mastery of your material keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. So,
Yes. I also think that especially when I'm working with leaders, very often I'm working with the groups of leaders. They co-create the experience, and it is always so amazing to
mhm.
observe that sometimes when we prepare training materials, we prepare the manuals, we prepare uh, the books, and then the training, they start discussing something, and then they start going deeper into some elements, especially when we start talking about leadership, conflict resolution, communication, and then it becomes so much deeper and so much richer just because of their input. So I think that especially for training the leaders, it is so important to also give them the space to co-create the experience. It is not only about like university style, like it's me teaching you, but it is about us creating this space to be better in something.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever I'm leading a class. I'm taking the class too. We're leading and taking and receiving the class at the same time. So, and it's continuously molding, continuously changing. We have one class called From How to Wow. I probably delivered it 30 times in the last 2 years. And even though it's the same booklet pretty much, we have made some changes to it, but it's pretty much the same booklet. The class is 75% new, and every time I lead it. So
Yeah.
it's always changing, always morphing the way it's explained and the way the experience is going, and what's required for the audience to really get it. So continuously adapting. Well, Alina, it's been a pleasure to see you again. I enjoyed being on your podcast as well, and I look forward to seeing you again, maybe. And I'd love to chat with you about your services as a TEDx coach. Love to chat with you about that. And so, how do people reach you, Alina?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mark, for inviting me once again. It was a pleasure chatting with you again. And to our listeners, you can also find our conversation with Mark on Ideas and Leaders podcast. So this is one place where you can find me is my podcast, Ideas and Leaders. You can find me on LinkedIn. This is the best way. I'm on all social media, but if you drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'm always open for a conversation. I will definitely answer, and let's connect and discuss some cooperation opportunities, possibilities.
Awesome. I do have one question I ask everybody before they get off the podcast. My question is, what do you really love about life?
I love this question. I love everything about life. I love everything about life. I'm very positive. I'm very grateful for everything that is happening to me. And I think that we need to count our blessings and what we love every day. So every day I'm trying to appreciate small things that happen to me. So for example, today, I really love this interview and this podcast that we had together, this conversation. And, I will find several other things to appreciate about today, definitely as well, by the end of
Awesome.
the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on and have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.